I'm ready to start stitching this side seam that I have pinned. Again, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam as per the pattern, and I'm going to begin stitching in the lining where I had it pinned, and now I'm stitching the side seam of the dress, keeping my raw edges together and taking out my pins as I approach them. You'll notice that the dress is all wadded up inside, but that's okay. Now I'm approaching the seam at the bottom of the dress. So I'm just going to pull this on around, take out that pin. And now I am sewing again the dress front lining to the dress back lining. Now, I do not pull this all the way around in a circle because I think it stretches the fabric. Now, you will see that I have sewn that side seam. The dress is still wadded up inside, but watch what happens now. I'm just going to pull the dress back out. And you can see that side seam is finished. I'm going to turn it over, and there is a section of that lining that was not stitched. Now I'm going to show you how to stitch that. This is the side seam that I have just sewn on the garment side. We have an opening here in the lining. To close that lining by machine, I'm going to go to the other side of my dress, separate the dress from the lining, and put my hand between and come out through the opening that I want to sew in that side seam. I'm going to grasp those two edges, and I'm going to pull those edges out through the other side of the dress. And you can see there's the section I need to sew. So I'm going to put just a couple of pins to hold that area in place. And now I'm going to put this back under my machine, back stitch, and stitch this area together using that 1/4 inch seam from where my stitching stopped in the lining until I come to the stitching again. Now, again, we're going to flip this right side out. And you will see that that seam is sewn on that side of the dress. The other side of the dress is still open, and it will be closed up exactly the same way we did the first side. And I'll show you how to do that now. This is what our garment looks like now that we have finished one side seam. That side seam is sewn completely on the garment and the garment lining. Now we're going to do the other side in the exact same manner. We start out by flipping the dress so that we see the lining of our fabric, And then we're going to put our last side seam together. We are going to separate the lining from the garment, put the raw edges of our garment together, match the seam at the top underarm, and then pin the garment together all the way down, leaving the lining hanging loose. We're going to make sure that we match our seams at the bottom of the skirt and at the underarm. Again, we're going to continue pulling our lining together just like we did on the other side and pin it in place. After we have pinned together a section of lining at the bottom of the dress, then we will move back to the underarm and pull a section of the lining together and put a couple of pins there to hold in place. And now it's all pinned. The dress garment fabric and a section of the lining at the bottom of the skirt and a section of the lining at the underarm. We're ready to sew this section just like we did on the other side. Then we'll turn it to the right side, and that last section of the lining that we were able to pull through on the other side and stitch on this side, we will be hand whipping to close that opening.